Just wanted to point out the information we provide today is of a general advice. If you do want some more information, please seek some professional advice.
Welcome to another episode of the Retirement Living Your Way podcast, where we have real conversations with Troy Theobald and the team from RFS Advice. My name's Greg Black, and in the studio I have with me Mr. Troy Theobald. How are you going?
Wonderful today, Greg.
Wonderful today?
Yeah.
Good to hear. Well, you're looking well, as always.
Oh, thanks. It's all that running I'm doing.
Oh, well, we'll have to actually talk about that at some stage.
Yeah.
But, no, actually, today's probably not a bad option in some regards, because in this studio we actually have Darko Zigic. So welcome, Darko.
Well, thank you. Where's my compliment?
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. We know your training program.
You're not running, you don't get one.
So
Good point.
But for those that aren't aware, Darko is the Director of Wealth Services at RFS Advice. He's been with the business as a shareholder and director. I think you've spent over 13 odd years with the team, working with Troy, putting up with Troy for that long. So that deserves a bit of a medal.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Let's punch in the air. Come on.
Exactly. But look, we wanted to bring you back in today, Darko. Obviously, RFS Advice, we deal with the retirement end of the market, those Correct. Maybe just before those in, all the way through to the dedicated home care, aged care and the like. And obviously in your sort of capacity, you specialise in a lot of the professional clients and Correct. Business clients, and we've done a previous episode on that for anybody that may not have heard that. It's well worth listening to. But I guess another part of your role is in the whole space of insurance.
Correct.
And I know that you've won some national awards as an Insurance Advisor of the Year and things like that, which is an absolute credit to you.
2019,
thank you. Yeah, but next minute Troy will be jumping in about the awards he's won, but
thanks.
We'll be here all day, so we won't be doing that. But I guess if we're talking about insurance, and I wanted to be a little bit clearer here, because we're talking about personal insurance.
Correct.
But we're also, in our business, we really do specialise. So do you want to sort of touch on, I guess, the insurance area that's in our wheelhouse? Because we're not trying to be all things to all people. No. That's not the way we do things. Do you want to touch on that?
Yes. So you're absolutely right. We deal with a lot of professionals as well as business owners. So in that capacity, we do deal with insurance companies to help them facilitate either larger lump sums of cover for them, or structuring insurances for the business, such as buy, sell, or key person, to ensure that if they were unable to operate, the business will still continue. Also, with the high-skilled professionals, they typically do make a higher income. So based on that, it can be quite difficult for them to understand what type of structure or what type of definitions best suit their needs. So this is where we do work with them to assist them obtaining an insurance policy, but realistically, we're there to help them with a claim. That's realistically where we actually help them out the most.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take it up a notch.
Yes.
When we're talking about insurance, do you mind just touching on what type of insurance is available? Because I think that's important to start.
The easiest way to think about it is there's a lump sum cover and monthly income. So lump sum cover, think of life cover. So you've either passed away or you've got 12 to 24 months to live, being terminally ill. Then you have TPD cover, which is total and permanent disablement. Easiest way to think about that is you're unable to work ever again in either own or any occupation going through. Finally, you have trauma cover. So trauma cover consists of having a severe illness such as trauma, heart attack, stroke, Parkinson's, the list goes on.
Yes.
From there, you do have your monthly income, being income protection or business expenses coming through. So it's looking at that structure of cover and working out what do we need and how do we assist on that factor.
So you're really passionate about this.
I am, definitely.
I can remember meeting, we would have, caught up probably 15, 16 years ago. And
2006, 7?
Yeah, and I know you're doing a lot in the insurance space back then. Why is it so important to you, and why do you think, when you're talking with clients, what are the things you're sort of talking about and really trying to educate the client about the need?
Like any insurance policy, people hate paying premiums. I do myself. But I've also had the experience of helping people with claims, and you make a fundamental difference to them and also their family. Unfortunately, when a person goes through a claim, it's not just them that goes through it, it's the whole family that gets impacted. And being able to assist and say, here is a check for X amount of dollars to assist you to take some time off to ensure that person gets better. Or you've gone through a horrible experience, hopefully this will help in some capacity going through. So you're absolutely right. I am passionate about the insurance industry because I have seen the benefits going through. I've also had the benefits of working for a life insurance company, so I've also seen what they do in their end, and they do pay claims. I've seen it firsthand and helped many people with that going through.
So just as a side point, how many claims would we look after in our business on any given year? Just a rough ballpark figure.
Ballpark would be probably anywhere between 20 to 30 claims going through. So as an example, in November and December, we had 4 claims that we went through, and even just this year, we've had another 3 that's come through. So we are dealing with quite a lot of claims constantly, unfortunately. And typically, they're from cancer, unfortunately, these days. We're definitely seeing an increase in that factor.
Well, look, I as you know, I'm a big believer of insurance, and 3 years ago was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, had trauma insurance, and it was the peace of mind that the insurance gave me that made all the difference. With regards to, it was a process that I had to go through, but knowing that financially my insurances were all in place, everything was there. Yes, the trauma, there was a payout there, but it went broader than that. If the worst had happened, my wife and 2 kids, they were going to be fine, and that peace of mind. And you must see that. And I wouldn't mind touching on, I guess, your experience. You've sort of worked on both sides. You've been in the life insurance in the corporate space. You're working now, with the RFS business. That experience that you've got is absolutely critical, because I know of times where people have tried to get things through and they've been given bad advice, and you've been able to sort of cut through the noise and actually been there to provide strategic, proper advice.
You're absolutely correct. Typically, what we tend to see is, unfortunately, they may have put the contracts in incorrectly based on underestimating or overestimating their income or not having the right definitions. As I mentioned to you previously, with TPD cover, there's any and own occupation. So own occupation is definitely more beneficial for a high school professional going through, or even a business owner going across. Is in the event of a claim, what they'll look at is realistically, if they weren't able to operate again, can they do their own occupation? Or if it's any, what have they done in the past? And in this case, they may not be able to be the surgeon, but they could be another type of doctor going through. So it's really giving that capacity of making sure that we have the right structure in place. Is in the event of a claim, we want to make sure the claim goes through.
Absolutely, that's when it counts.
Yes.
Yeah, the claim's the key, and we don't always get the benefit of having set the policy up.
Correct.
No.
So we had one of the accountants we spoke about working with professionals before, who one of his clients was told, went to a lawyer, and lawyer sent the paperwork, claim in, no claim denied, came back and called us. I went to have a chat about business and everything else. I went, well, there's no claim here, and can you just talk me through this a bit? And I went, I'm just going to come back in a week, and can you just send through that stuff? So I grabbed Darko, jumped in the car, we drove back up to see them out west there, talk through, and Darko and I was like, why don't we have a claim here?
Yes.
So it was just not understanding the process and what they're actually applying for in regards to that. And that one made such a difference, because Darko managed to get the early payment. It's a horrible topic, but it's what's to cover.
That's right.
But because I can see the wife and daughter there now that are the difference that made for them, and what he got to do as well with those proceeds, and that was a massive difference, getting that paid out. And then I think it was how you actually went for the claim. You nearly tripled the amount of claim.
Yes.
And more importantly, got it paid out, probably a year earlier than would have been otherwise.
Correct. Unfortunately, within the policies or definitions such as buyback cover, and in this case, what we're able to do is facilitate the TPD claim, as I mentioned previously.
Yes.
In this case, unfortunately, this person passed away.
Yes.
He was terminal towards the end there.
Yep.
But we were able to obtain the policy back again and then claim under the death benefit. That made a massive difference to the household. Unfortunately, he was 52 on memory.
Yeah.
So it's terrible.
It's
nothing. It's never a fun subject to talk about. But as you mentioned, it's that peace of mind.
Yeah.
He knows his family's taken care of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it really just shows the power of knowing exactly, I guess, look at our business. We've got the capability within RFS Advice to have you saw the client, didn't make sense, you knew it wasn't right, and being able to actually bring Darko into the conversation and actually get the right advice. Because if they hadn't actually raised that or you weren't aware,
no, and
that's the bit that I get frustrated with, because people they've had policies for good, paid money in good faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the insurance company wasn't not looking to pay out. It was just the wrong claim, the wrong paperwork, processed the wrong way by someone who didn't know the process or procedure. They were well-intentioned.
Yes.
They thought they were helping.
Yes.
But just didn't know the way to go about it. And that's why we have that specialist area, Darko and their team, because if any of the clients come in, they're asking those. I'll grab Darko and the team, Troy heads off for a cup of tea outside and goes, I'm going to, it's not a fun topic.
No, you tend to run off in that situation.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's, we've done well even talking about that claim, because that's the toughest one we've gone through. That was that one. That was right up there. And we've done many together, unfortunately. But we can picture every single one of those families of how it's helped. And that's when people sit at home with their insurance policy and they look at that premium. That's all they see. And people hate advisors and all this commission and all this garbage. I'm like, I've seen the difference it makes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yes.
The hard part is you've got to juggle the need people have now and the cost. And the cost of everything go up. You need this, but it's super expensive for your house. And somewhere in the middle, we're going to be making compromises between what you really should have and then what you can afford. And somewhere in the middle now is where people land, unfortunately.
So do you think the cost is obviously a big one?
Absolutely.
What about getting people across the line to sort of understand that they do need it? Or in your experience, do you tend to find that the clients that you're tending to work with, they do get it?
Yes, they tend to get it. They understand that they do need that safety net in place. Yes. That's all it's meant to be. It's just meant to assist with, if something happens to them, such as cancer, they're able to spring back up after that event coming back through. So they tend to understand it. What we try to do is try to alleviate some of the pain when it comes to premiums by assisting them with creating wealth on the side. Why do we do that? Because once they create wealth, they don't need as much insurance policies. Yeah. So by doing that, we're actually trying to assist them long term.
Yes.
But they also understand that, unfortunately, younger kids, or it could be that they're in a high debt level and they want to make sure that their family is taken care of, or if something happens to them, that they're taken care of going through.
Yeah, that's that certainly makes sense. What about with regards to the levels of cover and things like that? Are there any sort of maximums that people can have? Because we've got some very wealthy clients, and you mentioned debt levels, and there's some some people carry large amounts of debt. Are there limits to how much you can have across the various covers?
You're absolutely correct. So if we have a look at once again life cover, most insurers couldn't go up to $5 million in life cover going through. In other capacities such as trauma, $2 million, and so forth. The difficult part is, once again, to obtain those levels of cover, there typically needs to be a medical done to assist with that going through. So it might be seeing the nurse or the doctor to help facilitate that screening to be done. The difficult part's more so from an income protection point of view. The reason being is anything above roughly $350,000 in income, then rather than looking at 70% of their taxable income, they'll look at 50% going through. So it might be along the lines of, yes, you're on a high income, we can't secure all of it, but we can secure most of it going through. And that's by understanding the overall structure. So in your commentary previously about why do we look up to high school professionals and business clients, is they really truly need the advice. Because getting that wrong could hurt them financially.
And obviously, Troy alluded to before about the premiums have gone up. What's happening in the insurance space? Are we seeing a consolidation of insurance companies? I know there's a lot of noise out there and there's a lot happening.
Darko's going to be nicer, so I'll answer it.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
I'm glad you answered.
So if you go back in the industry, they had inbuilt commissions, because basically if we went to someone, you're going to have to pay $3 or $4 grand for an advice fee to go and add everything up. Most clients aren't going to do it. So the portion of inbuilt commission into those sorts of things can help from a payment perspective to cover off on advice and different things. But what happened was we had massive reforms went through. The insurance companies are out there banging on about, it's all the commissions, so they carved all the commissions out. A heap of people stopped writing insurance. They've put the premiums up 50%, doubled, tripled since then. They've just absolutely gouged the consumer.
Absolutely correct.
No other way.
I was going to say that.
I'm paying the same premiums.
Exactly.
It's disgraceful, but there is no... So you're sitting there with people, and that's when Darko and I, and you're seeing families with a need that can't afford something, that if I went back 10 years ago, they had the need, it was a choice.
Correct.
They could choose. They could pay for it.
Yes.
Do I? Don't I? Now it's like, mate, the mortgages are now double.
Correct.
Yes.
And they can probably afford half as much insurance, if that, and it's disgrace.
Agree.
So how often do you review policies?
Look, we'd like to review at least yearly basis going through, but we also know people are time poor.
Yes.
And things may not change in a year, so ideally within 2 at the latest going through.
Right.
The reason being is if we talk about a business client as an example, within 2 years a lot could change coming through. So we want to make sure that the levels of cover is still appropriate to their needs going through. This might be based on them acquiring a different asset or looking at taking on different structures, or they may still be the key person in the business, but they may have attracted more, or they might have business partners, as an example, that they didn't have previously. So we want to make sure that in the event something happens, the business will still continue going through. But typically within 2 years, ideally sooner rather than later, especially if big things change.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's
And a lot of clients too that might have some industry super funds that probably had some default cover. It used to be a bit of a catch-all, and you'd meet families that through good luck, good fortune, whatever, happened to have cover in when they tick the box, or the employer had a default level of cover. That's tending not to be there now. And if people haven't added to superannuation, that can drop off if they haven't elected to keep it. So there used to be levels of cover that people had.
by default.
Yeah, almost by default that they're not having now. So
But they've also changed. The one of the companies, which I won't mention, industry fund structure, basically what they did was look at changing the definition. So on a TPD claim, getting a TPD claim is very difficult to go through, or the paperwork assisting them, because you do need 2 independent doctors to sign off saying that you won't ever work again. This company, unfortunately, you get 1/6 payment, meaning that you have to prove that you're unable to work every year for the next 6 years.
Yeah, wow.
Which is terrible.
Absolutely.
We're making that poor person go through that experience going through.
yeah, majority of times, we're seeing cases where it's not really debatable here.
Correct.
So that, I'll defend them a little bit, because there might be some where they're getting cases where people are borderline, but
Yes.
majority of mums, dads that we're dealing with out in the community, this isn't hey, am I sort of this is, hey, we've got a major problem.
Major issue, yeah.
And that's the issue. We just need to get enough people with cover for those major scenarios.
Correct.
That, that's what we're seeing and coming across. And the last thing, we've got business clients there at the moment. You're seeing having to put all this stuff in constantly over it. Like, this isn't getting any better. You've got medical sign off. This isn't improving. But to Darko's point, so for the next 6 years, you're going to have to keep going with the medical. And that one, we were dealing with that claim in the early parts of that. It was constant. It's like, it's pretty clear what this person's got.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Every 3 months we need another form. It's like, seriously?
You hope they're not pushing the can down the road, don't you? That sort of feels a bit like that, doesn't it?
So and that's where you can see the frustration. And some did get, in take into account for the amount of time for payment and other things, and that hopefully that's pulling the whole industry into account in that world, because there was just ridiculous delays and particularly death claims. If they're insured, they're covered, they pay the premium, someone's passed, it should be a no-brainer. We're not,
Correct.
This shouldn't be a 12-month process. This should be, from our perspective, it's, those clients are sorted in a very reasonable time frame. We're talking months, not, it's more around probate and those things and death certificates and having that. So it's more just the normal process. There shouldn't be another layer of people, worried about that sort of stuff in the background. So hopefully the government's taken the sort of thing and run with that. So there was a very big article, it was about 12, 18 months ago, the industry funds got pulled over with some of those. So hopefully that's addressed that issue. And you're just seeing more and more people, I suppose, with the size and things have grown with claims as well. So how do they deal with that? Because we don't have an industry with a heap of people doing insurance now.
No, it's very...
So the industry's shrunk, so there's less people to process, less people to do the claims, less. So that's just made the whole system grind to a halt as well.
Well, if you look even in closer to home, there's a lot of businesses that may have had a specialist insurance advisor in their business, and then financially they've made the decision, we're just going to cut that off and we're going to outsource that and pass that off. Now, we've obviously gone the other way and made the decision, well, no, we think it's such an important part of the overall strategy, we would prefer to look after that internally. Because as you said earlier, it's really the claims piece is really where... And as Troy was just talking about before, that's the bit where we spend a lot of time.
We do.
And that's where it counts.
Oh, exactly. is it's very difficult, unfortunately, if you're ill and then have to deal with all the paperwork going through, and being able to take off that burden off them to assist them with all the documentation, help them hold their hand through the whole process, makes a massive difference to them. And it's quite rewarding being able to say, yes, everything's been done. We're all approved. This is how it will work going forward. You're actually putting a big benefits to them by assisting them with that. You can see that they're relieved as they don't have that pressure on them, as they have no idea what they're doing.
No. So sorry.
Yeah, because and that it is a big difference, because you might have a simple policy in super that's either death or TPD in regards to one payout, say it's $1 million. A policy set up outside that might have multiple definitions and buybacks, and everyone thinks that's just a conversation till it really happens, and you see someone get $200,000 when they've actually had the melanoma and something come through, then they can't turn to work. So we've had a TPD payout of $1 million. They've survived 12, 24 months. We're getting a buyback for the family. We're not paying a premium. Something terrible happens. I can picture another one which Darko and I help with. The family gets another $1 million. We're talking, $2.2 million paid out instead of $1 million.
Yes.
That's a big difference at claim.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And just a bit of advice.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just so you jump in, you're absolutely right. So talking about reviews, so another client of mine, so funny enough, I remember going to see him and I noticed that he wasn't well. And I asked him, what's going on? He went, I've got cancer. Oh, hang on, we've got a policy that we can claim on. I didn't realise that we could.
Yeah.
So by having those reviews and having those conversations with him, he got paid out funds from an insurance claim that he never thought he would.
Yep. Yeah, amazing.
That's right.
And what now? And the question I was going to go down the path of the ownership side of things and the structuring, because you sort of alluded to there, inside super, outside of super. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of our clients, tax is an issue.
Yes.
So there are ways that you can structure the insurance.
Absolutely
it's not as simple as everyone gets the same type of life cover. It is different.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Because once again, if we have a look at a business client going through, we might have a buy-sell arrangement in place where you might have multiple business partners. So if one business partner passes away, the shares of the business revert to the surviving partners. The spouse or the beneficiary receives the funds. But in doing so, there could be tax implications if it's not done correctly going through. Exactly the same for a TPD claim. If it's owned through super or outside, once again, big tax implications.
Yep.
As we said, we pay tax of what we should be paying, but ideally we don't want to pay more if we don't have to going through. Yes. So looking at structuring insurance is extremely important, because if we don't do that correctly, the outcome being the claim could be less than what a person expected due to tax complications going through.
Yeah, wow. I'm so pleased that you're the one looking after this for RFS Advice, Darko. I really am. And look, anyone listening, if you are unsure, or you either got, your insurance hasn't been reviewed for a while, or you're sitting there going, oh, gee, it's probably time, or I should be, please don't hesitate to reach out at rfsadvice.com. Look, I'm just mindful of time, and we sort of started this episode sledging Troy about running, or Troy running. So I just and it ties in, because at the end of the day, insurance, it's often about how, it's health. We know that. It's protecting against those unfortunate events. And someone once told me years ago, trauma insurance, it's protecting against a probability, because the stats are the stats.
Correct.
So as far as, obviously we want to make sure the three of us live as long as we possibly can, and we as you can probably tell, we do enjoy each other's company, which is great fun. So Troy, you've been starting to do a bit of running lately, I believe, just to get a little bit healthier.
I have, because the lovely team bought me this lovely watch, and it had a feature that tracks statistics and all those things, and I thought walking and playing golf was elevating your heart rate, which I have evidence that clearly proves, with Greg with a bright smile on his face here, was not the case. So now that I have started running, you can see all those health benefits, and you can feel your BMI's down. You can feel the sorts of things. So, and that's, I'll put my hand up as that, small business owner. You're out there, you're doing all those things, and you can rationalise it and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's making that a priority as part of the process there. And, when you're sitting there and that claim has only had gone on the last 12 months, and when you're sitting there with someone a similar age and same daughter, same age, and
makes it real.
You think, wow, I can't stop the cancer, I can't stop that, but geez, I could lower my stats.
Yes.
I can stack the odds in my favour. So yeah, that's my little motivation there of jogging along there in regards to that. So.
And it's contagious.
Yes.
Like if we think about even in the office, it's amazing now. People are now starting to do, everyone's active in the office.
We are.
But people are starting to talk a lot more about health. We're watching what we eat as much. We're doing more exercise.
We're not wanting to run a marathon like you and do a
We're not
crazy.
judged by a person who was running marathons.
I wouldn't judge. I wouldn't judge. We won't ask what you've been up to exercise-wise, Darko, but,
We've got it on air now that Darko's going to commit, so that's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely, I will. Commit to the gym and maybe the bike that we've got at the office now.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Well, look, I think just in the interest of time, we might call it quits there. But
Great.
mate, thank you very much for joining us.
Me again.
Oh, it's great. It's it certainly, I think it'll give people an understanding of the depth within the business, because it certainly is a very important part of our business. And as I said earlier, you do an amazing job. So it was great that you could actually be here. Troy, it's always a pleasure.
Look at Oliver here. He's sitting there going, insurance, all these statistics and stuff that can go wrong. We've totally scared Oliver. It's fantastic.
He's sort of, I don't know if it's a smile or a grimace. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to comment?
No.
Oh, okay, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully we heard that.
Yeah, we won't let him outside in the sun then.
Oh, very good. Okay, look, thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Until next time, everyone take care, and we'll talk soon. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Cheers.